calling it a second time is going to do something. They know the rule, but they feel indignant towards the first one as if, what did you just do? You beat me to it. You don't deserve it. I deserve it. That's why these guys are indignant. Because they're just as cocky, just as arrogant as James and John. Just as self-motivated, narcissistic, desiring greatness as James and John. Who are these other guys? We deserve it as much, if not more, than they do. So they're indignant, they're upset, they're frustrated, and now let's see what Jesus says to them. Jesus called them together and said, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. Whoever wants to be great must be your servant. Whoever wants to be first must be a slave. Whoever wants to be great must be a servant. But if you want to be first, you have to be the slave of all. The higher you want to get, the lower you got to go." That's what Jesus is saying. Greatness, when Jesus is talking about it, is something completely different. He's flipping it on its head. He's redefining it all. And he's saying, listen, the world around you thinks that greatness is having authority and using it, and you're not going to do it. You know what that means? That means in the Jesus community of people, no one has the right to say, because I am, you need to. Because I am, whoever I am, I have this position, I have this authority, and just because I'm holding the authority, you got to do it. No one has the right to demand that other people uphold their authority. No one has the right to say, I'm just going to tell you what to do. Because in Jesus' words, not so with you. Now, I know a lot of times in churches, I know this doesn't happen around here, but I've been in many churches in my life and seen many churches in my life. And one thing that I've seen many times is someone will get involved in the church because they see the church as an easy way for them to gain some type of position of influence, authority, or power. Because after all, in the church, people are all just so forgiving and loving and soft that it's easy to gain authority and power over people like that. And so I've been in churches like that where there's this power struggle and people are voting on other people and there's these debates going on and there's arguments over strange, stupid things like the color of the walls and how soft the chairs are and why do we put the soft chairs in the front and the hard chairs in the back? Why? People argue about that kind of stuff in other churches. And it's like what the guy was talking about last week. Gary Rohrmeyer was standing up here talking about being a torch person or a bucket person. And the bucket people are those who take their bucket of water and they just douse other people with it and like, there, Debbie Downer. I'm just going to be critical of everything that's happening in this place. I've been in churches like that. And Jesus says, no. This isn't about power. This isn't about authority. This isn't about position. This is about if you want to be great, you got to be the servant. And if you want to be first, you got to be slave. Not so with you, that whole authority thing. See, Jesus' circle of people are servants. And that's the next thing I want you to jot down. For Jesus, it's not sacrifice the way we think of sacrifice. It's service. That's the key word. Great honor comes from great service. And there's one last line Jesus says here that ties it all together. Verse 45. It says this, "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." The Son of Man, remember, that's coming from Daniel chapter 7. The Son of Man image is this image from the Old Testament where Daniel sees this character, this figure, this cosmic guy up in the universe, it's a vision. He sees this person. He says he looks like a son of man, and he goes before the throne of the Almighty, the Ancient of Days, and the Ancient of Days receives him him, and the whole world worships him. And so this guy, the Son of Man, is the one who is with God, who is worshiped as God, and Jesus is using that term for himself. He says, the Son of Man came not to be worshiped, not to be served, not to receive honor and glory, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for others. See, here's the deal. You don't have an excuse anymore. You think, I deserve to be treated better than this. You don't have an excuse for that. Because Jesus, the Son of Man, creator of the universe, God in heaven, came to earth in flesh. The Son of Man, Ancient of Days, he is the one we worship. He came to serve. See, we like to take that whole good news story of Jesus, him dying on the cross and everything, and we package that up in a nice tight little ball, and we set it on a shelf, and we sing songs about it, and we say that's awesome, but the rest of Jesus' life we kind of like to forget, because the rest of his life, he's just a servant. And we don't want to be that, because we know the truth. Glory's in limited supply, and there's not enough of it to go around. And if I'm going to get any, it means you can't have as much. And if you get some, it means I'm not going to get as much. And I have to fight for what's mine. I have to fight for what I believe I deserve. And so we fight. And so we wrestle with each other and argue with each other. And all our relationship problems come from the desire for greatness. Jesus says, you don't have an excuse anymore. You think you deserve that lane of traffic? No. You don't have the right to demand that anymore. Because even the Son of Man came to serve. Write this down. Greatness with Jesus means giving your life to serve others. And now the whole passage makes more sense. Because I want to show you something. We read it quickly earlier. Go back earlier in chapter 10, verse 36. Do you remember? James and John said, Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. The most arrogant question that's ever been asked. The most prideful question that's ever been asked. And Jesus' response to them, he should be indignant. He should be rebuking. He should be all upset. What's his actual response? He says this, what do you want me to do for you? They say the most cocky, disrespectful thing. And his response? Okay, what do you want me to do for you? When your boss disrespects you and tells you you need to do the thing that no one else is doing. You need to do the thing that no one else wants to do. You're the one who's going to do that. Disrespectful, cocky, arrogant, exercising authority over you. You have no excuse to say anything other than, what do you want me to do for you? Every one of our relationship problems can be solved by simply taking on this mentality. Okay, yes, some people are going to take advantage of you. Some people are going to walk all over you. But I doubt they're going to flog you, whip you, spit on you, and kill you. And even if they did, Jesus is promising you will come back to life again one of these days. So even if they did, resurrection is still promised to you too. But I don't think they will. Therefore, you have no excuse. I have no excuse to say anything other than, what do you want me to do for you? That's hard. Because life works a whole lot easier when we say, Jesus has forgiven me, now I live my life. Now I keep searching for greatness. Now I keep trying to be the person I want to be, whatever. It gets harder when I have to take this home. So I want to challenge you with 3 questions to ask so you can take this home with you. Now, I'm a competitive person. I know this is difficult, but we have no excuse. We're going to ask these questions of us. Question number 1, who am I serving? Who am I serving? if Jesus says greatness comes from being a servant, then the question should never be, how do I get recognition? How do I get respect? How do I get people to honor me? How do I get people to notice me? That should never be the question. The question should be, who am I serving? Secondly, you can probably guess this one. How am I serving? How am I serving? What am I doing to serve? I'm going to give you a couple answers for this. In just a couple weeks, we're going to have our Taste of LCC fair right here. We're going to have right outside in the parking lot, we're going to have this Taste of LCC fair, and we're going to tell you all about the different ministry opportunities that are going on in the church. And when we tell you about all that stuff, you're going to have an opportunity to answer both these questions. Who am I serving? I'm serving the people of this church. How am I serving? I've joined a team. We're giving you the opportunity. Why do we do that stuff? Why do we do ministry teams? Why do we do the Kidopolis thing? Yes, it's partially because we believe the kids need to be taught. It's partially because we believe you need to serve. It's partially because all of us need to have an opportunity to serve someone else. So a lot of what we do around here is only partially for what it looks like. It's also partially because we just need to be people who know what it means to serve, who get in the flow of serving other people. And so this third question I'm going to ask you to take home with you. Simply this: WWSD. Yeah, S. I know some of you wear the white wristbands, or you've seen that, the WWJD. You know what I'm talking about? You have a bumper sticker on your car, WWJD. Well, the problem with WWJD is that you're not Jesus. And so you can use that as your excuse. What would Jesus do? Well, he'd turn the other cheek, but I'm not Jesus. He died for me. I'm accepting his death for me. I don't need to. I'm asking you, what would an S do? What would a servant do? Because you know the answer to that one. There's no question. What would a servant do? In this particular situation, whatever the situation is, the relationship I have with the church, the relationship I have with my family, the relationship I have with this coworker, this boss, what would a servant do in this situation? Because we have no excuse anymore. Jesus died for us to prove he's a servant, even more than to save us from our sins. We have a great opportunity this morning. There's a lady in our church, Cheryl Bauman, who's over here with her husband, Alvin, wearing the orange. And she has desired to follow Jesus in baptism today. If you look in the bulletin, there is printed her story of the last couple of weeks and months. Basically, she's just coming